Hi everybody and welcome to the weekly wrap for August 21st, 2020. My name's Maryann Simson from Apex Media.
And I'm Seth Miller from PaxX.aero. Maryann, that's not your normal digs. You're not in London anymore, are you?
I'm not in London, Seth. Thank you for noticing. It's very observant. I'm actually in Northern Ontario right now. I'm on a 2-week quarantine, having traveled here on the Sunday that just passed from London via Air Canada. And I just thought I might share with you guys some pictures and some impressions from my international flight, because I think a lot of us haven't done this in the last few months, have we?
No, I mean, it's more than 6 months for me, which I start trembling every now and then when I think about it. But, such is life. But yeah, I saw some of these pictures already. It looks like it's a really interesting travel experience.
Yeah, I'll admit I was pretty apprehensive about the trip. I was apprehensive about getting to the border and the kinds of questions that I was going to face and things like that. But I'll start with the beginning. So when I arrived at the airport, the first thing you see is like an army of hand sanitizer dispensers. As you're going in through the airport, basically there's like 3 on either side as you're going. So loads of space for everybody to get their hands sanitized as they go in. As soon as you come in, you're greeted with some signage about social distancing, about enhanced cleaning measures, about temperature check trial that is going on. Although I will say, I'm not sure that I experienced that. I did have my temperature checked at the gate, but I think it was Air Canada's initiative, basically at the instruction of the government of Canada, rather than Heathrow's own trial. Once I got through security experience was pretty much the same as it's always been. However, they've installed some plexiglass dividers. Normally you see like the little feet on the ground so people can stand next to each other and pack bins at the same time. I think they've reduced the number of those, and it looks like there's a plexiglass divider between the people now. When I got to the other side of security, normally they have a lot of seats there for people to sort of sit and put their shoes back on and get their things together, and every other one of those seats is blocked off. You'll see that throughout the airport, and I saw the same thing at Pearson on the other side when I landed. Moving along, the facilities at the airport, everything looked really clean. You can definitely tell that there are some like seriously enhanced cleaning procedures going on. I took the liberty of taking a photo of the toilet to prove this.
You mentioned the block seats, even on the ground, so to speak, and not having access for everybody to sit in all the places. Is it still crowded, or was it empty enough that really wasn't an issue?
It was pretty empty. That didn't cause an issue, but I could see a scenario where you're trying to do social distancing at an airport, like at Heathrow's normal capacity. I just don't think that would be possible. There would be a lot of older people, maybe people with disabilities who really need those seats that I think would have a hard time finding a place to rest. But as it stands right now, it was fine. A lot of the shops and restaurants were closed. I'd say about 50% of them were open.
Okay. And on board, was it normal or very, very different, or just very different?
So boarding, like I said, was a procedure where you have your temperature checked before they even check your passport. I didn't notice too much of a difference in the procedure, but also my flight was not overbooked. I would say it was less than 50% load factor. I had an entire middle aisle to myself. So as you get on the cabin, one of the first things you notice, and I don't have any pictures of this because you're not really meant to take pictures of cabin crew, but they are quite decked out in PPE. They're wearing sort of like a fabric smock. They all have face masks. They're wearing gloves, some more than others. I noticed that certain cabin crew had the full face shield on. Perhaps they were the ones more involved in preparing food or touching things that passengers may need. I'm not really sure why. Everything in the cabin was wrapped in plastic, which is not everything, I should say, but the bedding for signature class and blankets and pillows and things like that for economy and the other classes have a plastic film on them, which is too bad, but given the circumstances, I think we understand why we need to use a little bit more plastic to keep things safe right now. Amenities were fun.
Yeah, this looks like the cleanest pack of pretzels I've ever seen here. in this amenity kit. It's amazing.
It's a very sterile set of items. So it comes in a little plastic Ziploc bag, has loads of PPE, cleaning supplies, and a little bag of pretzels that blends right in with all that stuff. I almost didn't realize there was food in there until I had a second look.
Yeah, it's interesting. You say it looks very sterile. One comment I heard from a vendor recently was the discussion about how cabins are generally designed in sort of dark blues and grays because that hides dirt and pen marks and things like that, and how passengers now are so demanding of knowing things are clean, they're going to want to see sort of the brightness and the whiteness of everything because you can see dirt better, and how that's going to potentially change things. And obviously we're seeing it. Even the peanut packs are typically a darker color, and now they're bright white. It's everywhere.
Clean lines, clean colors. I think Air Canada is really fortunate in the sense that their cabins are quite sort of clean and sleek colors anyway. The aircraft that I was on was the A330, and you can tell that it had a recent retrofit, so I felt that the cabin looked spotless. And as you can see from one of my pictures, the girl down the row from me had a hairnet on. She had gloves and she had her mask. I'm not sure what the hairnet was protecting her from, but she was going for it. So it was good to see all the passengers doing what they need to do to keep everybody safe. Food service, obviously we're trying to do low touch food service, so it came all in one cardboard box. And it was sort of one meal for everybody. I think unless you have a very severe allergy or requirement for meal. So I had requested a gluten intolerant meal, and I got the same meal as everybody else. But, given the fact that I was flying, I didn't complain at all.
And they still have the awesome little pot of dessert there. I love those, the chocolate ganache.
Yes, absolutely.
It's one of my favorites.
That was good. Second service, again, sort of contained in a little package, everything individually wrapped. And overall, I thought the experience was good. The IFE was still really robust. You just didn't see a lot of flight crew. I don't think I exchanged more than 2 words, except to say like water or Diet Coke or something like that. So there's not much engagement.
Makes sense. Certainly unfortunate in some ways, but that's where we are these days.
Yeah, I can say that I felt totally safe throughout the process. It was a lot less nerve-wracking than I thought it was going to be. So I can happily report to anybody watching the show who's sitting on the fence about taking a flight. I would say that, check with the airline and see what their procedures are. But it seems to me like Air Canada, at least, has done a really good job, and I felt safe.
That's great. I think a lot of the airlines are doing it right. It's just a matter of the overall ecosystem and whether it makes sense to travel anyways. Obviously, you have to quarantine when you got to Canada, so there's still some challenges around that.
Yeah, honestly, it's great to be here. Seth, it sounds like Deal has made some progress with Boeing.
They have. So Deal Aviation is a company that builds cabin monuments, galleys, lots of the big pieces that go inside an aircraft, and they have signed an agreement with Boeing to now be able to deliver those items as buyer-furnished equipment. So the airline is still paying for it and coordinating the deal, but it shows up at the factory. It gets installed by Boeing as a line-fit item, and this really opens up the market for Deal Aviation. It gives them a lot of opportunities to sell these monuments, these galleys, to different airlines and have them installed at the factory. It is very rare for an airline to take delivery of an airplane without the galleys installed. It's just the retrofit process for that is kind of a pain. And so by getting this agreement in place, demonstrating that they can provide the stuff reliably and on time and all of those little details that really matter to keeping the major assembly lines running, Deal really does open up its market.
Yeah, well done to Deal on that one, and well deserved, I think, as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, our guest on the show today is Dan Bambridge from Neutral Digital. This is a company specializing in immersive content for AR and VR, and they also do a bit of touchless tech.
Indeed, and Neutral Digital has actually noted that a lot of their products are finding new uses right now as the market is changing and the environment for travel is shifting. And so we're really happy to have Dan on the show. Dan, welcome.
Hello, happy to be here.
How has 2020 been treating the business? Are you seeing a shift in the aviation versus non-aviation markets?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Neutral Digital has seen a shift of interest in our technologies, whereby most of the demand prior to 2020 was around virtual reality for the marketing of airline experiences and training of airline cabin crew. as well as our IFE apps and games and GUIs. But now that's shifted to have a bigger focus on augmented reality, virtual collaboration, and touchless technologies, as the industry asks questions around distancing in the workplace and hygiene across the passenger experience. A couple of factors behind these technologies specifically. AR can be deployed via a smartphone or app or tablet, and everyone's got one. It's also an exciting and accessible way to engage with people because it can bring information and objects to life in front of you, which is great for entertainment, but also for learning and visualizing information. For the passenger experience, that might be using AR for wayfinding or enhanced onboard retail to aid with purchasing. And for training, that might be bringing to life an old school training manual, for example. Virtual collaboration is a bit of an obvious one because there's a big need for engaging an immersive means to communicate and share ideas beyond 2D videos. And for touchless or contactless technologies, strangely enough, a lot of our past work with clients at Apex events has resurfaced because it imagines low touch and gesture controlled IFE far ahead of its time. Whilst there are challenges like lighting and mass deployment for touchless IFE, the same technologies can be applied to airport retail and duty-free and touchless check-ins. So there's still a huge demand for VR, and the obstacles are only short-term as we figure out things like logistics and remote deployment. But AR, virtual collaboration, and touchless technologies are the current hot topics.
Dan, AR and VR applications in aviation were quite a hot topic pre-2020, and they were gaining a lot of steam, but it seems that the industry is now focused on a little bit more do-or-die innovation, or things that help keep them operational in the new environment. So they're looking more for innovations and solutions that are sort of necessary to survival. Do you think these two things need to be mutually exclusive?
Not at all. I think Neutral Digital is seeing innovation as a result of adapting to the situation already. However, to see more, I think the main sticking point with innovation is committing to something new and making a jump and proving that there's concrete value in something that's potentially not ever been done before. So for that reason, we recommend working iteratively with proof of concepts and rapid prototyping as first steps. I'm sure there's lots of that going on behind the scenes right now as companies adapt.
It sounds like both the training aspect and the wayfinding aspect of the AR environment really makes sense for Neutral Digital right now. Can you give us a little more insight onto how that's playing out for you?
Yeah, so VR and AR have increased learning retention rates thanks to their immersion and interactivity. So they're a great solution for training that we've implemented before with various clients. Reason being, it allows for the recording of challenging scenarios and enables them to be trained or learned not just in the classroom, but outside of it too, or even on the job, and without tremendous costs too. A few examples might be smartphone-based augmented reality that brings classroom content to you into the room via your phone, like visualizing the contents of a textbook or manual, or more practical things like training by placing a 3D object into the room with you and to learn repairs or assembly, for example. For wayfinding, it's a trend that we think will accelerate due to the situation, with passengers increasingly preferring to use their own personal devices for things like information and tickets. Having your own device and app that not only guides you through the journey, but allows for touchless technologies and augmented information, like where your gate is, or when it's open, or where the lounge is located, or where a particular shop is. This all contributes to the streamlining and easing of that initial customer journey, as well as avoids sort of bottlenecks in waiting or grouping people together. We're seeing airports and airlines adopt the technology and infrastructure to roll that out for wayfinding, but I think we'll see an accelerated rate in the coming year or two.
Finally, we've heard a lot about low touch in the aviation environment lately. How is Neutral Digital engaging and embracing that trend?
Yeah, the technologies have been here for some time. They're matured and they're tested, but the value is now much more obvious and more direct than ever before. So I think we'll see this area grow tremendously. The current restrictions will change our behavior for the long term, right across both the customer journey and in the workplace, across retail, events, learning, training, public spaces, sales, and beyond. So the need for human safety and business stability will be key driving factors. Neutral's been involved and engaged in touchless technology since 2014, when the demand was not quite there yet, so the ideas that we explored were not put into widespread practice. But with this demand, I think we'll see some of these ideas realized, and we're excited to revisit those ideas and apply them.
Thanks so much for that, Dan. Our final topic on the show today is that the government of Germany has just taken delivery of the first ever A350 sort of retrofit or designed for government use.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. The government had been flying a fleet of A340s for a while. They actually had some mechanical problems a couple years ago with some of them. It ended up with Merkel missing a G20 meeting, so a little bit of egg on the face for the government there. And that triggered the decision to buy 3 new aircraft, 3 new A350s coming into the fleet. This is the first to be delivered, but not the first of the ordered, apparently. Aircrafts 1 and 2 are still getting their interiors fitted out, while 3 is being delivered now with a temporary cabin. And then it will eventually get retrofit for the full premium or government cabin later by Lufthansa Technik.
Yeah, interesting that they've opted to put an interim cabin in an aircraft. This is not something you hear about too much, but I guess when your leader is missing important meetings because your aircraft isn't up to scruff, I guess it's really important to just get something out there, isn't it?
It is, and it's not like they're going to be slumming it. There's it's still a pretty nice configuration. I think it's 30 business class seats, 80 premium economy, a couple meeting rooms on board, and some other amenities and features. So it's not going to be that bad an experience, even at the temporary cabin. But I'm sure when the real one comes along, it'll be much, much nicer.
All right, and with that, we're out of time for this week's weekly wrap. For everybody watching at home, just to let you know, there will be no weekly wrap for the next 2 weeks. We're taking a little break, and we'll be back with you the second week of September with another episode. Thank you, Seth, for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
And thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out paxx.aero and apex.aero for more aviation news.